So I'd like to start off these programs by telling you how I know the things that I know and maybe giving you some resources that you can go to and check these things out. So it initially started by getting a lot of oral histories from my family. My family, the Kent side of the family, has been in Calvert County since 1780. Is the earliest documentation that we have. At that time, we were owned, or they were owned, I should say, by the Kent family in Lower Marlboro, Daniel and Ann Wheeler Kent. Now, this part is important. They had a son, Joseph, who by the time he was 20 was a doctor, a medical doctor. So you need about the same training to be a doctor then as you did now. He was upset with another doctor in 1799. As a result of that, he left Calvert County and went to Prince George's County, to Bladensburg. So that split the property. Ultimately, Joseph Kent acquired more land in Prince George's County. He eventually became the governor of Maryland in 1826. He inherited the Lower Marlboro property, including the slaves that were there. So there were 37 slaves in Lower Marlboro and 300 slaves in Prince George's County. So when he passed away, his estate in Calvert County was put up for auction, including the slaves. One of those slaves was sold at auction in 1837 to James King. That was my great-great-grandmother. Her name was Susan. She was sold to James King, who was at King's Landing, which is where the park is now. James King, who had his own wife and family, he had 3 kids with her, fathered 3 more kids by my great-grandmother, great-great-grandmother. The first
What's up?
Yeah, y'all should check him out. He got good energy.
I just like watching videos on YouTube of cities and, the hustle and bustle of life. People walking around being videoed, the 1920s, 30s, 40s, what have you. Like, it doesn't matter. I like to watch it and see what things looked like back then, because I'm always intrigued and curious to know how much life has actually changed from then to now. I think one of the things that we most overlook is how much things stay the same even though they change, right? Like, time goes by, but time is really just, depending on how you think or believe, time is really just a social construct, right? It's just something that helps us keep track of where we need to be, when we need to be there, XYZ, whatever the case may be. But if you look at it in its totality, I mean, how much has really changed, you know? I feel like history often repeats itself. I feel like we're almost sort of in a time loop. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like time is just one of those things where it's a conundrum. It is. And I mean, that's evident on my book cover. I mean, if you notice how the numbers on the clock repeat. But I say that to say, man, we really have to delve into history. I know a lot of people don't care to really delve into history or follow history or learn history. It's for them, it's always about the future. But the past and history dictates the present and the future. And so in order to not repeat our mistakes from the past, we must know what we did or what was done in the past. So in order not to repeat the mistakes of the past, we have to know what was done in the past. Right. So I think it's very important. And my new journey that I'm on, and I've been wanting to do this for a long time. Is the DNA testing. The DNA testing. And I've heard mixed reviews on the validity of it, on the accuracy of it. But like my little sister told me, like, it's how many people in the world? That means there's that many different opinions and points of view. Right. So I live by the code of, firsthand knowledge. So I went ahead and I signed up for ancestry.com just to see what it's like. just to match up my family tree, because I want to have that family tree in place so that my kids and their kids can have something tangible and in front of their face to go to, so that they know who they are. Because I feel like your identity is an important piece that helps determine who you will become. And so, like, by knowing who you are and where you come from, you can then use that as a blueprint and some type of motivation as to who you can become. And so that's where I'm at with it, man. Like, I have a lot of questions, as I know a lot of people probably do, when it comes to your personality, when it comes to a lot of things about you, and you have questions about it. And if you don't have a parent to that's in your face that you can look at and say, okay, I got that from him. Like, me and my dad have some really creepy similarities, like our mannerisms, certain ways that I think I can attribute that to my dad. I can sit there and pinpoint it and say that's from him. And from talking to my dad, I can do the same, or not on the same level, but I can do a similar thing when like the things that don't align with him, I'm like, that must come from my mom. So I'll talk to him and get some insight on, okay, that probably came from my mom. But then there's other things or aspects about me, like my how driven I am in the realm of entrepreneurship, and from having conversations with my dad, which we should be having conversations with our elders and picking their brains while they're here to give us that firsthand knowledge. He's told me that a lot of that comes from my grandparents. Like, it's a lot that goes into who we are and our identity, and knowing who we are is very important. I say it all the time. Like, I make the statement that I know who I am. That's more of an affirmation than a fact, because I don't truly know who I am in the sense of where I come from, my family, all that. But I'm in the process. I'm in the process of getting that information so I can be stronger in my identity and understand my culture a little bit more, understand who I am a little bit more. And so I encourage everybody to take that leap, and fly, and figure out your why. I just want to give my kids a head start on climbing that family tree. I want to let them know who they are and where they come from, because I do feel that knowing who you are, where you come from, can empower you a whole lot. It can empower you a whole lot. I already feel empowered just knowing that I have the ability to look this information up. When a lot of people that I'm coming across that were born in like the 1800s and 1900s, see, they didn't have the same luxuries that we have. They didn't have them. And so I'm taking full advantage. I'm taking full advantage of it. Go do your DNA testing, your genetics, follow your family tree branches and see where they lead you. It's fun, it's exhilarating, it's emotional. And if anybody that knows that their family or kin to me is watching this, you know what I'm saying? Like, reach out. Let's figure this all out together. Let's not allow our story to ever be watered down or lost or misinterpreted in the game of telephone. Let's figure this out, document us, and have a solid foundation. Let's make sure our roots are solid. Make sure they're planted in the ground and they're healthy and they grow as they should. I'm a firm believer that you should be aware of the history of the ground that you're walking on. Now, I mean, you can obviously just be ignorant to it if you want to, because, you know, it's not for everybody. But I like to be aware of the ground that I'm walking on. I want to know the history of it, especially when I ride by and I see places that look like they were definitely plantations where slaves once walked and ran. So I grew up. A large part of my childhood was in Maryland, in Southern Maryland. And if anybody knows the history of Southern Maryland, and so now as an adult, I really want to take a deeper dive into the history of Southern Maryland. Now I live in Calvert County, I wanted to get a gist of the history of this land and figure out what happened before here. I want to understand the culture of this land, the history of this land, all of that stuff. It's just in my DNA to want to know that. So I did the same thing in Virginia. I had a photo shoot actually that meant a whole lot to me. Those pictures mean a whole lot to me because they were taken at Fort Monroe. Shout out to my homie Kevin Lilly, dope photographer. He took those pictures for me, and I would cherish them forever. Because for me, that had a deeper meaning than just taking pictures. So the history of Fort Monroe is deeply rooted in our history, right? So it's the first, it was the first African landing in English North America. And so for me to be able to go over there and take pictures and be as free as I am, it just meant a whole lot. Like to be on that same hallowed ground, it just meant a whole lot. And so the same holds true for being here. Like Virginia, Maryland, all of these places, it only makes sense that a lot of this was slave land at one point, you know? And so I want to understand and know where we live. This is another book unpackaging. And again, anytime I'm excited about a book, I have to open it with you guys. And so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. You ready? We're gonna do it this way. Mulatto, The Black History of Calvert County, Maryland, by Michael Gayhart Kent. And so I feel like this is gonna help me fit a couple more pieces of the puzzle into the big picture. Now, did a little research on Michael Kent, and I'm really interested in talking to him. I really want to pick his brain. I really want to talk to him. But I want to read this book first. And then I'm going to reach out and try to, you know, get a conversation with him and talk to him, just because our elders are a great source of knowledge, especially the ones who have put in the work and done the research to bring us publications such as this. And I'm really looking forward to cracking this book open. Had to make this episode because I didn't want to open it without you guys. And I'm super excited about getting started on this read and doing my own research as well. So if you haven't gotten this book yet, if you've already read this book, let me know what you thought about it. I'm definitely interested in knowing your thoughts and perspective on it. And I'll keep you guys posted on whatever I find in the journey on this, as well as my my ancestry. Can't wait to finish that up. Can't wait to reach out to some people and get to know them. Make sure you get publications such as this one. And if you haven't done so, go ahead and get a copy of my book, Heavy is the Head. Peace.